Welcome to the show. I'm Jason Whitlock, and I'll tell you why the Steelers just dethroned the Patriots as the team to beat in the AFC.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why. Before this weekend, like this minute, the Cowboys season's over. Speak for yourself starts right now on a Friday.
It's over?
No, it's over.
It ain't even Thanksgiving.
Don't even need to play the games.
It's not even Thanksgiving. It's never over till Thanksgiving. All right, hello and welcome. We're joined now by Fox NFL analyst Greg Jennings and former NFL quarterback Danny Cannell. Let's start with Jameis Winston. It was revealed today that Winston is under investigation by the NFL over allegations that he groped a female Uber driver who picked him up from a charity event back in March of 2016. Winston denied the allegations, tweeting, quote, "The story falsely accuses me of making inappropriate contact with this driver. While I am certain that I did not make any inappropriate contact, I don't want to engage in a battle with the driver, and I regret if my demeanor or presence made her uncomfortable in any way." Cowherd, what's your reaction here?
Well, it reminds me a little bit of a more talented version of Johnny Manziel. I don't want to be cynical, but drip, 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 drip. Your life's a resume. I tell my kids that all the time. What's on your resume? The questions I always had about Jameis Winston weren't arm, weren't size, wasn't leadership, but it was judgment. And I think in his NFL career, I think his on-the-field question has been some judgment, and I think his off-the-field from college on, similarly. And I felt this about Johnny Manziel. First it was a little uncoachable. Then it was the problem with the pictures at A&M. Then it was the money sign. Then it was barking at a coach. And that's why I said, I can't draft him. I'm going to watch how you're going to tell me what you are, and I'm going to believe you.
Yeah, I think the problems he had at Florida State, the accusations of rape, and then in the aftermath of the accusations of rape, he stands in the middle of the campus and says something very profane that is clearly out of bounds, particularly given his background. And then he comes into the NFL, and he's continued to show a lack of judgment. He gets in front of kids and says something to little girls that's really stupid. Listen, at the end of the day, people are uncomfortable when you say this, but it's just factual. Jameis Winston's not that smart. And if you look at this situation, his response here, it's not that smart. He may not have done this, but at the end of his statement, he should not have said, I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable in any way, if my demeanor, blah, blah, blah. That's a subtle shot. That's I'm sorry I was a big black guy and made you uncomfortable. It's a mistake. He says he doesn't want to engage in any type of battle. Then don't. Just prove that it wasn't you and leave any nitpicking back and forth alone. Jameis Winston's just not that smart, and the Buccaneers are going to have to make a very tough decision on him at some point.
I'd love to give him the benefit of the doubt, but when you have a history of poor decisions, as you guys have done a really good job of pointing out, it's hard to do that. And I hope he has some way he can prove that he wasn't where he said, that this didn't happen, but I don't know if he's going to be able to. And at some point, I'm with you. You're either really dumb or really immature, and maybe it's a little bit of both, because you're seeing these decisions on the field, off the field, and don't forget about some of the stuff that looks very immature, or the pregame stuff when he's eating the W, like just weird, random, like what are you doing? And I think he does have a tremendous amount of growing up, but at this point in his career, when you're approaching an age, it is time to grow up so you don't have these types of things cropping up time and time again.
Yeah, I'm going to stay on the football side of things because I don't know what the truth is with all of the allegations that are out there. But if I'm a teammate and I'm an organization, every time something like this comes up and you're considered, this is our franchise guy, it's a knock on your credibility in the locker room and even as a leader. And when you have a player in a position as a quarterback, you are expecting them to show maturity both on the field and off the field so that your credibility and the level of respect that your counterparts, your teammates have for you is so high to where you can say something on the field and you can get them to play and you can get them to buy in. With his name coming up, whether it's true or not, it's a knock at his credibility. Regardless if it even comes out true or not, it's just a constant blow to the side of the ribs to where if I'm a teammate, it's like, man, I need you to be the guy that we all expect you to be, and that is mature and our leader because you're in a position that requires you to be such.
This is why it's hard to be an NFL quarterback. It really is. If he's a left guard, I'm not sure it doesn't make the AP wire. The reality of being a quarterback, this is why GMs, this is why they ask your mom, your dad, they ask your high school counselors. This is why they have the Wonderlic, why they ask pointed questions, why they have the interview, why sometimes it feels inappropriate. We're asking 22-year-old kids to be the face of an NFL franchise. We got owners in this league that I'm not sure are always capable. 58-year-old men from Harvard and business schools. These are kids. And it's quite possible he will grow into it. But at this moment, it's fair to say he's not there yet.
But we've had so many other guys that have been able to handle it.
Absolutely.
Like, it's not, the age is not an excuse. And we're seeing, you know, two guys in their second year, and Carson Wentz and Jared Goff, who are handling it exceptionally well. When you look at what they're doing in the community, what is beyond me is how, after all the history of incidents, and I don't know exactly what, we don't know the details. We don't know if he was there or what he's claiming. It didn't happen. You should be pristine in your treatment of women, where you are around people, who you hang out with, to make sure that these types of allegations should never happen. And it's just, you wonder when is going to be a time when he says, all right, I'm going to clean it up. I don't know if it ever happens.
Danny, you played at Florida State. You played quarterback at Florida State. Was Jameis's reputation among his peers at Florida State, was it good, or was he, again,
as far as a teammate, exceptional. Leadership skills, exceptional. But yeah, I think there was some maturity issues. I think it drove Jimbo Fisher crazy that he had to answer questions about the incident in the student union when he yells something incredibly offensive to women. It just wasn't a profanity. It was offensive to women after he was dealing with the rape allegation. Like, that to me, just something doesn't compute there. You have to grow up at some point in your career. And I worry about him because he's incredibly talented, and yet you're seeing immature decisions on and off the field where it has to stop.
Pittsburgh, where the Steelers actually looked like the Steelers last night, with Big Ben letting it fly, Antonio Brown using his head en route to a 40-7 drubbing of Marcus Mariota and the underachieving Titans. Here's Big Ben on the Pittsburgh dominant performance.
Well, I think you can call this a breakout game in terms of points, but I still think that we're going to look at this and say, man, we left stuff out there. Was it our best game? No. Was it better? Yeah.
We got to continue to get better. It was just one step in the journey. Obviously, we got a big opponent next week, and as the journey unfolds in November, December, football is going to get bigger and bigger.
After watching that, are the Steelers the team to beat in the AFC?
Yeah, I don't think, how could you say they're not? They have a better defense than the Patriots. You know, I don't know if the Patriots have a playmaker, the equivalent of Antonio Brown or Le'Veon Bell. The question, you know, is Big Ben has been a little bit shaky this year. But, you know, Colin, you and I have been critical of Mike Tomlin in the past and the culture of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'll defend them a little bit today and just say they're a sausage factory. And, you know, it's ugly watching the process. And the process of them getting to this point has been really ugly, and all the criticism has been deserved. But the Steelers make real good sausage.
But here's what's funny about Pittsburgh. If I said to you last 10 years, who's had more Pro Bowlers, Patriots or Steelers? Now, my gut feeling is Steelers.
Yeah.
Patriots, 18-15. Why? Because Pittsburgh's got star receivers and star backs and Big Ben, and their coach makes news. We overvalue Pittsburgh sometimes because they're so talented on the perimeter, so dramatic. New England's got better guards, and I think a better coach, and their linebackers are rarely beat on assignment. I still contend that New England's got better players than we think, and they always have when they face the Steelers.
They can't stop a runny nose, Colin.
Well, you know what? I've heard this before. I'm not saying we overvalue the Steelers' talent, because the talent they have is often perimeter, high profile, and dynamic.
Top 10 offense and defense.
For me, I can't say that the Pittsburgh Steelers are the team to beat. The Patriots are still the team to beat. And for me, it's because they are sustainable with what they do. Tom Brady has always had to overcome some level of adversity, whether it was losing Gronk, losing receivers, the defense not performing. He's able to step his level of play up and overcome that. And then you have Bill Belichick. When you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, what they did last night, although it was great, I love them coming out in the no huddle, I don't see this being sustainable. I just don't see this being sustainable. They get success and they have success when they hand the ball off to Le'Veon Bell and they run the offense through their rushing attack, not spreading guys out and then throwing the ball heavily like they did last night.
Over the top, big plays.
Yeah, and then you mentioned Antonio Brown. Yeah, they have Antonio Brown. They have a lot of receivers, but to oppose that, you have Bill Belichick, who typically finds a way to eliminate
the big
your number one guy.
Here's where you guys are crazy. There are two sure bets in sports. It's LeBron James going to make the NBA Finals, and it's Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are going to make the Super Bowl. And I'm not going against those two things until I see somebody break it. The Steelers are sexy. They're fast. They get out there. They put up a bunch of points. But you know who's coming, and they're watching the Steelers, and they're like, you go ahead and talk about them. You do everything you want to do. It's the Patriots. And they'll find a way. I think home field will matter in this one. I think the Patriots ultimately will get that home field advantage. But I go with what Greg was talking about. Will they sustain it? It's pretty unbelievable the success this team has had, considering, think about how close they were to imploding as a locker room when they lost to the Bears, and it was the anthem stuff, and it was dissension in the locker room. I think you have to actually give Mike Tomlin a lot of credit for where they are now, but I just look at this team. Big Ben's getting older. He's 35. Is he going to be healthy the rest of the season? Are they going to be able to, an immature team, can they sustain it over the long haul? Because it's a marathon in the NFL.
They've been in a division with Cleveland awful, Baltimore underachieving, Cincinnati mediocre, and they win it out of the last 8 years like 4 times. This is a team that should dominate their division. And
the Ravens have fallen off a little, but that was a dominant franchise for a long time.
You know what the Steelers do better than anybody in this league? Draft wide receivers. And
defensive players.
Okay, but they can't stop Brady with all those defensive players, and they haven't for years.
I love Bill Belichick and Tom Brady and what New England's done.
Like you like LeBron, but you're going to go to dissertation how bad they are?
Yeah, no, but I'm just going to, let's don't overlook the Pittsburgh Steelers franchise and what it has done. They've had 3 coaches in 130 years. They win. And sometimes Mike Tomlin.
How long has it been, though?
I understand.
It's been a minute.
And the pressure's on Mike Tomlin, and he's producing and performing. It's a sausage factory. Listen, a lot of people love bacon. I love sausage, too. I like them both. Good sausage is hard to find.
Welcome back. Greg Jennings, Danny Cannell are here again. Let's move to Dallas. Cowboys host the Eagles this week, but will be without 3 of their best players. Ezekiel Elliott suspended. Tyron Smith and Sean Lee expected to sit out with injuries. Good luck. As if that weren't enough, the Eagles appear to have a big advantage at the quarterback position this year. MVP favorite Carson Wentz, huge strides over his rookie season. Dak Prescott actually taking a step back in year 2. I think Whitlock predicted that. All right, Dallas is 3 games back of Philly. Is the Cowboys season already over?
I think you predicted
I think it may have been me, but I'm so humble.
Dak and Dunk is back, but is it over, Colin? It's not Thanksgiving. We haven't even sliced the turkey. Are they going to lose this weekend to the Philadelphia Eagles, the best team probably in football? Yeah, without Tyron Smith, they got no shot. If Zeke Elliott's sitting out and Sean Lee's sitting out, they have no shot. But over? No. They'll be 5-5, and they'll have time to figure it out. Someone's going to back into the playoffs in the NFC, and it very well could be the Dallas Cowboys. I would never write off the Cowboys and Dak Prescott and Dez Bryant, and if Sean Lee's able to come back healthy, Dallas can figure out a way to get to 10 wins here.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you on that. I think it's over. I think they're not only losing really good Dallas Cowboy players, they're losing players that are arguably the best in the league. Outside of Luke Kuechly, Sean Lee makes a bigger statistical difference than any linebacker. Zeke is a Todd Gurley. He's a difference maker. And Tyron Smith's the best left tackle still in this game. I think the NFC is loaded. I don't think Minnesota, the Rams, are taking a step backwards. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to come back at some point in this season. I think Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll understand December and January. I don't remember a year. The Saints are the real deal. I don't remember a year when the NFC at Thanksgiving had 7 teams I think could go on a winning streak in the playoffs. It's over.
You talked about a bunch of teams that are winning divisions.
Carolina's going to be a wild card team. I've watched Carolina play 3 times this year. The game in New England. Last week.
Quarterback's a roller coaster.
Here's what not a roller coaster. That defense. Here's what's not a roller coaster. That defense for the Saints. That defense for Philadelphia. It's over.
The team you haven't mentioned either, the Seahawks. Seahawks sitting there at 6-3. It is too crowded. The Cowboys were done the minute Zeke's suspension came to fruition, and they lose him for 6 games because he is a difference maker at the position. And Dak Prescott is a different quarterback without that running game. And I look at Carson Wentz. I think he actually benefited from the season he had last year, learning to kind of have to throw and put the team on his back and experience some ups and downs. I think he's in a better spot because of that now, where Dak Prescott's going to have a little bit more of a learning curve this year. I think he'll struggle. I still think he's the answer long-term for this team, but I do not see this team making the playoffs. They're done.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say that they'll make the playoffs simply because when you have the Rams, who are leading their division.
They're going to win their division.
And they possibly will win their division. I'm not going to say they're going to. And then you have Seattle, who's butting right up against them.
No Richard Sherman. You don't think that's going to hurt the Legion of Boom?
I definitely think it will hurt them, but I think they have good enough personnel to overcome it. Then continue to look in the NFC. Dallas isn't going to win their division, so they have to fight for a wild card spot. That is going to be challenging. And you look at the revenge factor that even the Eagles are going into this game with after last year. Their season spiraled out of control after going down to Dallas and then losing when they were 4-3.
Last year, Dallas got a little bit of a break. They didn't face a first-place schedule. Just think about the NFC South. Carolina was in the tank. The Saints were in the tank. Atlanta gets to the Super Bowl. In that division alone, Atlanta probably doesn't make the playoffs. The Saints are overachieving. Carolina's bounced back. I mean, Minnesota did. Chicago is a last-place team. They've got offensive line, running backs, pass rush. The NFC almost has outside of San Francisco, and by the way, with Garoppolo, in the last month, they'll solve some of their issues. There are no atrocious teams in the NFC.
You know, I hope the Cowboys are watching this and watching people write them off as if football can be decided before Thanksgiving. You're getting me kind of fired up that they may pull the upset this weekend against the Philadelphia Eagles.
You don't think that?
I don't think that, but anything's a possibility. It's football. They made a movie called Any Given Sunday, Colin.
Yeah, and on Any Given Sunday was not written in the current situation of the Cleveland Browns.
But even if they do beat the Eagles, they're still not going to win the division. The Eagles have this.
They can get the playoff. They can get the wild card potentially. I think the Seattle's cooked.
We're not banging them. Last 25 games.
You think Seattle's cooked?
Yes.
Hold on. For the Richard Sherman injury thing, especially in the last few years, probably one of the most overrated players in the NFL.
Thank you.
As far as perception,
attitude-wise.
Attitude. They have plenty of attitude in that locker room. Like losing him will not be that hard to overcome. But they play in a system where as long as those 2 safeties are healthy and getting back to playing the way they can, they'll protect a corner. They won't put him on an island. It's not like you're using a lockdown corner.
That's a great point. I think missing Earl Thomas is more a blow to your defense than Richard Sherman.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers is coming back.
Yeah, but what's going to happen to 3 games that he's not back?
Brett Hundley wins 2 of them.
Welcome back. Time for the Blazing 5. Let's start in Chicago, where Cowherd, you like Mitchell Trubisky and the Bears +3 over the line.
My favorite pick of the week, in fact. The weather's going to be horrible. A dome team, Detroit. Detroit's playing better defense now. But I think Trubisky in his last 2 home games has looked more comfortable. The weather's lousy. In lousy weather, both offenses struggle. I'll take the field goal.
I totally disagree with you. Matt Stafford versus Mitchell Trubisky. I'm going with the quarterback with the pedigree. Stafford and Lions pull the upset here or win this cover easy. To Dallas, where you're taking Philadelphia -3.5 over the depleted Cowboys.
Philadelphia is a great 3rd down offense. The Cowboys are a bad 3rd down defense. And it's not the loss of Zeke that worries me. It's the loss of Sean Lee, the linebacker. He and Luke Kuechly are the glue to those defenses. They're just not.
This is an easy pick, Cowherd. We don't need a long explanation. Right. Pipe down. They're going to cover easy. All right, to Denver, where you like the Broncos -2.5 over Cincy in a battle of terrible offenses. I'm agreeing with you here, but this is a scary pick.
It's my least favorite. Denver's a mess. I'm giving Denver their defense, their fortitude, home field. I think this is an ugly, close game. If it would have been 3 points, I would have passed.
You've fallen in love with the Ryan Fitzpatrick Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I have.
You have the +3.
I do.
Versus Miami.
I like Tampa's talent, Jason. I think when they have a responsible, albeit limited quarterback, they can win.
All right, finally, you on Brett Hundley versus Joe Flacco.
This is kind of an upset. Vegas doesn't love this pick. Coaching system, Hundley doesn't make mistakes. I'll take Green Bay.
All right, I kind of agree with you here, too, as well. So we only disagree on one thing, Chicago. All right, welcome back to the show. We're joined now by Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard and the founder of the Big Lead, Jason McIntyre. Let's move to Boston, where the Celtics extended their winning streak to 14 games and did it in impressive fashion, coming back from down 17 to take out the red-hot Warriors. Not to be outdone, the Rockets put up 142 points on the Suns last night, including 90 in the first half, overtaking Golden State for first place in the Western Conference. Cowherd, who's a bigger threat to the Warriors, the Rockets or the Celtics?
Rockets. First of all, the Celtics they need defense to win. I mean, they just have to. They don't. Jason,
Is that a problem?
In 2017, yeah, it is. It is a problem.
Defense wins championships,
No,
and
that's
it's a problem
that's
that
what
they need.
like Mike Ditka's still doing. That's not true. Defense doesn't win championships in the NBA. You know what wins? Steph Curry, LeBron, scoring. Boston doesn't have. Jason Tatum could not buy a drink across the
Did
street.
you watch last night's game?
Yeah, he's 19.
One team won, and the other team lost, but they're
boy.
no threat. They've won 14 straight.
Jaylen Brown,
no threat.
21. He got carded until a week ago. Kyrie Irving's 25.
Are
They're babies.
Is Joey Crawford now out on the court carding people? You can't score that bucket, young man. You're under 21.
They're just kids. They're all defense. You can't win in this league with defense anymore.
Have you ever seen Chris Paul play in June? No one has. Have you, James Harden versus the Warriors? Not good. Now, again, I don't want to make too much of last night's game, but damn it, Brad Stevens
He's good.
and Boston are for real. And again, Chris Paul's history in the postseason, James Harden's history against the Warriors.
Are they for real?
They're for real. Look, I was texting with a scout today, and I said, are they for real? Like, how legit are they? He said, you know, they're a contender in the East, but he said there's no way they beat LeBron or the Warriors in a 7-game series. Now, to answer the question, I'll say this. I think Houston is a better team. But in a 7-game series, I would give Boston a better shot against Golden State. You're right. You need offense in today's NBA, but you also need defense. That's why Golden State is the best, because they play both. Cleveland doesn't play both. They play offense. Houston plays offense for the most part. Boston can get you a stop when necessary.
They did last night.
And Kyrie is one of the best clutch players in the league.
Yeah.
Attitude-wise and execution-wise, Harden and Chris Paul are not. And so for that reason, I would say Boston's a bigger threat in a series.
It's definitely Boston. Colin, let me ask you, how did David fare against Goliath? He didn't go step to him and go toe-to-toe, right? There's no shot of that. Just as you love college football. How do you beat Nick Saban? You don't run smash-mouth football against Alabama. You get the mobile quarterback, spread it out, spread the field. You cannot line up against these Warriors. Houston Rockets, we're just going to shoot 53s and we're going to beat them. They're the best shooting team maybe in NBA history. The way to beat them is to do what Boston's doing, play defense. Now, I know it's just one game like Chris said, but the numbers bear it out. I mean, they were 15th in the league in defense last year, first this year, okay? Isaiah Thomas goes away, Avery Bradley goes away. They're still playing defense. I just love what these guys are doing. Remember, 10 of their 14 players are brand new in Boston this year. This is a brand new team. They're just scratching the surface this early in the year.
And that, to my point, Brad Stevens has a new team. He's trying to create a winning culture. You know, in the NBA regular season, urgency, preparation, motivation is not even. That's a Super Bowl last night. National TV game at home against the Warriors.
Oh, and the Warriors weren't up for it.
Not really. They got up by 11 early second quarter. I felt like
17 at times.
And I was like, they've made their point. It's like, kids, we're in your house. We're up by double figures. In fact, I would have gone to the bench at that point.
I mean, was there no clock in Boston? There was no indication of what
Colin,
quarter
Are
it
you
was?
putting Boston on Golden State's level?
Hell no.
Okay.
Hell, I think Golden State's winning the championship. The question is, who's more of a threat? The Rockets or the Celtics?
Rockets beat the Warriors this year, too.
Mike D'Antoni, you trust him in a 7-game series over Brad Stevens?
Preach.
Broussard,
That's the problem. If you look at D'Antoni's history, in the playoffs, attention to detail is critical. That's not a strength of D'Antoni's. Those Suns teams he had, which were great, Look at their series against San Antonio. It was always a blown rotation, a forgotten play, guys getting off the bench during the scrum. The Spurs players didn't get off the bench. The Suns players did, and that cost them series. So there's something that's going to happen if Houston meets Golden State, a little small detail that would cost.
You know why you're not 19 years old? Because I wouldn't trust a 19-year-old when the camera's on. Jason Tatum is 19 years old. I don't trust those guys in May.